The mysteries of water. Facts about water. 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered in water. 2/3 of any organism is composed of water. Bacteria cells are about 70% water by mass. Herbaceous plants such as celery are 90% water. Woody plants such as trees are about 50% water. In humans, lungs 90% water, brain 70% water, fat tissue 25% water, bones 20% water by mass. Water helps control our body temperature, keeps eyeballs moist, and lubricates joints. Water protects our brain and spinal column. The properties of water. Water is colorless, tasteless, odorless, and is a substance that can exist as a solid, a liquid, or gas. Water is comprised of 2 hydrogen atoms attached or bonded to an oxygen atom. Water is considered polar covalent and has an asymmetrical shape that creates a highly polar molecule. The bonds between molecules are called intermolecular bonds. Intermolecular bonds determine the physical state of molecular substances at given temperature and pressure. Now let's take a moment to review the types of intermolecular bonds. The term van der Waals forces are used to describe the intermolecular forces of attraction, including London forces, dipole-dipole forces, and hydrogen bonds. So the 3 types of intermolecular bonds, London forces, also called London dispersion forces, dipole-dipole forces, and hydrogen bonds. Let's take a closer look. London forces are the weakest forces of attraction between all atoms and molecules. Only intermolecular forces that hold together nonpolar molecules to one another. Small nonpolar molecules, example methane, are gases at room temperature. Because of the relative weakness of the London forces between the molecules. Forces become stronger as the size of the nonpolar molecule increases, such as octane. Octane is a liquid at room temperature because of the cumulative forces of the many London forces. Dipole-dipole holds polar molecules together. These intermolecular forces of attraction are stronger than London forces. The partially positive side of one polar molecule attracts the partially negative side of an adjacent polar molecule. Hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds are the strongest intermolecular forces of attraction. They are considered especially strong dipole-dipole forces that can only form between the electropositive H of one polar molecule and the electronegative N, O, or F of a neighboring polar molecule. Water molecules hold onto each other by H bonds. Hydrogen bonds are an angular shape that gives water its many unique properties. Why then is water called the versatile solvent? More substances dissolve in water than any other liquid. Water molecules provide partial negative and partial positive charges to which other polar molecules or ions can attach. Why? Here is an example. When sodium chloride dissolves in water, the water molecules dissociate or break apart the positive sodium ions and the negative chloride ions. The electronegative oxygen side of the water molecules pulls on the positive sodium ions and then surrounds the dissociated ions. The electropositive hydrogen side of the water molecules dissociates and then surrounds the negative chloride ions. Small nonpolar molecules such as oxygen and carbon dioxide cannot form hydrogen bonds with water and thus are only slightly soluble. That is why a soluble protein carrier molecule, such as hemoglobin, is needed to transport oxygen and, to a lesser degree, carbon dioxide within the circulatory system of animals. Large nonpolar molecules, such as fats and oils, also do not form hydrogen bonds with water. When placed in water, they are excluded from associating with water molecules because the water molecules form hydrogen bonds with one another. Nonpolar molecules are said to be hydrophobic, meaning they are water-fearing. Polar molecules that can form hydrogen bonds with water are described as hydrophilic, water-loving. Oil floats on water because it is less dense than water, but it fails to dissolve in water because it's nonpolar and hydrophobic. Although unable to form solutions with water, nonpolar substances do dissolve in other nonpolar materials. Oil and gasoline are nonpolar substances that do not dissolve in water, but dissolve well into each other. Like dissolves like is a generalization that describes the fact that polar substances dissolve in other polar substances and nonpolar materials dissolve in other nonpolar materials. Water, yours to protect.